What's happened, my Jack family? Coach Scott here, jackdr40.com. So in one of my videos last week, I received a comment from someone who mentioned that he thought I had body dysmorphia, and it was followed up by another comment by someone who also kind of thought that I may have body dysmorphia as well. So I thought today's video would be a great opportunity to explore what body dysmorphia is, the signs, the symptoms, versus simply having a higher standard for yourself. Now, I have coached men and women who have actually battled body dysmorphia, and I coach many men and women who simply have a higher standard for themselves. So I'm going to kind of explain the difference between the two, share it from my experiences, my clients' experiences. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I keep it raw and real. I've got nothing to hide. I share so much in my life. Throughout my journey, I have shared how I battled depression. I just shared this in a recent video on self-care, how 16, 17 years ago, I battled some mild depression. I shared that I claimed bankruptcy with my personal training business. Like I have flaws. When I face challenges, those are the types of things that I like to share with you guys, my fellow men over 40 who are striving to live their life to the fullest. I share the good and the bad. I'm sharing my experiences so we can learn and grow from each other. And it's incredibly important to note that I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I cannot even remotely come close to telling you if you have body dysmorphia or not. I can just share what I have learned from my experiences, from people who have battled it, people who just have a higher standard for themselves, and based on the symptoms that are reported out there and the typical, what typically happens with someone who has body dysmorphia. And right out of the gates, the most important distinction between simply having a higher standard for yourself and having body dysmorphia is that body dysmorphia is so much more than just looking in the mirror and not being quite happy with what you see there, seeing some things that you would like to improve upon yourself. Body dysmorphia it's so much deeper than that. It's a disconnect from reality. You are seeing something that nobody else sees. You're seeing a minor flaw and amplifying it, thinking that everyone else is basically staring at that flaw, and it consumes your mind, it consumes your day, it can interfere with your work and relationships, just your overall life. It is a drastic difference from simply wanting to improve yourself. Now let's face it, we've all had times where we felt a little self-conscious about our appearance, whether it's when we're younger, we're dealing with acne, maybe it's a body part feature that you just feel a little self-conscious about. I mean, I've got a pointer for a nose. I've got a big nose. When I was in high school, there was times I'd be brushing my hair, turning the head this side. I'm like, wow, like my nose is big. You maybe wish, man, I wish my nose was a little bit smaller, but I mean, it's a part of who I am. My ears stick out a little bit. Again, it's a part of who I am. I probably haven't mentioned this in any of my YouTube videos, but I started losing my hair at a young age. I was in high school when my hair started thinning. That was a challenge. That was really, really tough for me because basically I was the only one in my whole high school who was kind of dealing with that. So you do really kind of feel alone during those times. Now, when I'm in school, you can't wear a hat, but I would wear a hat when I go out to the bars and everything. I would wear a hat. And although I had always worn a hat ever since I was like probably 4 or 5 years old playing baseball, when I wasn't in school, I basically had a hat on my head the entire time. But when I was going out to the bars, I would never consider not wearing a hat. So maybe at that time, I might have had a little body dysmorphia because I wouldn't say it consumed me. It certainly didn't. It didn't stop me going out to the bars and partying, and there were times where my hat would come off and feel a little uncomfortable. You feel self-conscious about it, but it didn't consume my thoughts. I was able to get great grades in school and focus on my work when I wasn't wearing a hat. I would not avoid going to a restaurant because you couldn't wear a hat in a restaurant or anything like that. I wasn't happy about it, but it didn't consume my thoughts. It didn't consume my life. I think it's about 19 years old when I graduated high school, there was an ad in a paper for hair transplants. I was like, maybe I'll give them a call, free consultation. I made an appointment, ended up not going. I'm like, you know what, it is what it is. And now I love my bald head. I definitely love myself. I love my physique. I love all my imperfections, if you want to say that. So let's take a look at some of the signs and symptoms of body dysmorphia. Number one being extremely preoccupied with a perceived flaw in appearance that to others can't be seen or appears minor. A strong belief that you have a defect in your appearance that makes you ugly or deformed. A belief that others take special notice of your appearance in a negative way or mock you and your appearance. Engaging in behaviors aimed at fixing or hiding the perceived flaw. They're difficult to resist or control, such as frequently checking the mirror, grooming, or picking at your skin, attempting to hide perceived flaws with styling, makeup, or clothes, constantly comparing your appearance with others, frequently seeking reassurance about your appearance from others, and having perfectionist tendencies, seeking cosmetic procedures with little satisfaction, and avoiding social situations. So if you're experiencing symptoms like that, I highly encourage you to consult with your doctor and make an appointment with a therapist to kind of explain your feelings and get a professional opinion about whether or not you may be battling this emotional disorder, and get some help, get some therapy done where you can improve your self-care, your self-love, your self-worth, and not be so fixated on what you may perceive as an imperfection and overblowing it when most of us appreciate you for who you are and probably don't even notice that imperfection at all whatsoever. So I oftentimes find that body dysmorphia happens in some of my fellow competitors. They get to that stage level leanness, absolutely freaking peeled, like around that 5% body fat, really in that zone where it's basically not healthy body fat at all. It's not something that should be maintained. That should be something you peak for temporarily. Even in that case, it's still, I've competed in the past myself. It's not something I encourage others to do. It was a nice bucket list thing to do. I did it a few times. I would likely never compete again. To me, it's just not worth it. Still, it was a great experience. So I don't discourage anyone from doing it. I just want you to be aware of some of the negative consequences that can happen from competing, and you really got to go into it with a strong mindset. So some of my fellow competitors, they get that lean and they think that's the way your abs are supposed to look. You're supposed to have like no fat on your midsection whatsoever. You see the fucking veins crawling all over, every little tiny striation and fiber, it is popping out of the skin. And I've had some competitors like this, they get that lean and like this is where I'm supposed to be. And I had one of my buddies who was going through that experience. I would encourage him to gain some weight. I'm like, dude, you shouldn't be staying stage shredded. That is not healthy. He was talking about how he was cold all the time, his sleep was interrupted, his bowel movements was off, his libido was in the tank, brain fog. He was giving all the signs and symptoms of low testosterone and being too lean, not healthy. I'd ask him to go out for dinner, and if it wasn't on his cheat day, he couldn't do it. So avoiding social situations and gatherings where he could overeat and kind of stay off plan, get him on. And when I said like, dude, you've got to gain weight, he's like, you just want to see me fat, and it's not the case. So there is a complete disconnect from reality. It took probably about 6 months of talking, and then he was doing some more research and hearing more of these insights from other people, and he got through that. So he was on the brink of it, but at least he kind of snapped out of that situation and is now taking a much healthier approach, maybe a little bit too far on the one end, but I'd rather see him at that end than being way too lean and really messing with his hormones, messing with his life, messing with his psychology. So he's learned a lot from that experience, and he's helping others through his experiences as well. But what I have found in recent years is there's a few physique coaches who have experienced body dysmorphia themselves, and they talk about how when they were, and a lot of them were competitors, fitness models, always being stage freaking shredded, always 5% body fat, really crazy freaking ripped and not wanting to get off that. But then they're projecting to everyone else that if you have abs, you've got body dysmorphia. You shouldn't have to, don't stress over having abs. They're trying to spread this message of that if you have abs, you don't have a life. Like, you avoid social events. That if you have abs, you have low libido. You have low testosterone. All the signs and symptoms that I'm talking about, and that is definitely not the case. Especially within my inner circle, most of my friends have abs. We're all living, I mean, we party, we have an incredible social life. You follow my channel, the Sunday vlogs. I have people telling me to stop posting all how I am enjoying all of my favorite foods. I will say, they have said I'm showing off because I'm eating all these great foods. I do not shy away from a social event. If you invite me out for dinner right now, I'm going for dinner. No fears, no worries. And as I've mentioned countless times on this channel, although I enjoy living my life to the fullest with abs, doesn't mean that I think you should either. There are plenty of people who I coach want to get in their best shape of their life, and their best shape of their life is oftentimes my before photos. So we're all different. And as I mentioned in one of the recent videos that I posted, we all have our own kind of sweet spot for our ideal body percentage for us men over 40. And I mentioned that 12% is probably the sweet spot for a lot of us who really enjoy having a lean beach body. That's going to be at a good point for most of us to, our hormones are going to be more than fine. We're going to be feeling satisfied. We're going to look good, feel good. But there's some guys who are going to feel their best at 15%. There's some guys who can be a little bit leaner than that and feel their best. So it's all up to ourselves to discover where we feel best personally. And I think my Jacked After 40 client, Sean here, really summed things up really well. That this lifestyle, I mean, bodybuilding, body sculpting, it's in the nature of this recreational sport that we are viewing ourselves and seeing, looking at areas where we can improve upon. And just because we see areas that we want to improve upon and we're striving to look and feel our best doesn't mean that we have a disorder. It just, for a lot of us, it's a healthy fascination. I think that's the point that I really try to I don't want to say drill across, but get across to you, my fellow Jacked After 40 bros, is that I have had a healthy fascination with the human body for a very long time. It's one of the big reasons why I got into human kinetics, to study the anatomy and biologies and biomechanics and just human performance and tapping into our personal potential. I am fascinated with our potential, and so I have this keen, healthy fascination with the human body. And I think Sean really summed it up there, that some people view it as us being like too picky and everything, but it's kind of nature of the sport. And we are, compared to the majority of society, we are picky. It's something that that they're not doing. They can't really relate to. Yeah, so it's more of a healthy fascination rather than a disorder. And I'd say the most common form of body dysmorphia among bodybuilders is muscle dysmorphia, where we never feel like we're big enough or muscular enough. That's certainly not the case with me. There's a big reason why I created the Lightweight Pride for guys like myself who weigh 155 pounds or less. It's a place to celebrate who we are, our lightweight, celebrate our genetics. It's just not in our genetic makeup to be 170 pounds, 180 pounds, 200 pounds. We accept who we are, we appreciate who we are, and we just continue working with the gifts that we were granted, making the most out of what we have. So let's take a look at this recent comment that I got on the video where this guy says, I have body dysmorphia if gaining just a few pounds of fat messes with my head, and that I can't handle gaining just a few pounds of fat, and that I don't actually feel good. I'm just convincing myself that I feel good with abs, which is very, very interesting. Now, to put this into perspective, the video was on how I have gained 8 pounds slow and steady throughout this year, intentionally gaining fat during this process. Now, someone who has body dysmorphia, because they're worried about their fat, is definitely not going to intentionally gain fat over time. Nowhere in that video did I say that it's messing with my head. Not once. It really has me realizing that this guy probably didn't even watch the video because throughout the entire video, I was saying how happy I am with how I look, how I love how I look, how if I was at the beach right now, I would confidently rip my shirt off and run around without a care in the world. This is 8 pounds heavier than I was at the end of my mini cut at the end of January this year. Gaining this 8 pounds, I feel I look absolutely freaking phenomenal. I've had abs all my life as a kid, as a teenager. So I had abs right up until I was about 25 years old when I opened up my health club, got stressed, got depressed, gained a bunch of weight in that process. So up to that point, like, 23, 24 years old, not once did someone say you got body dysmorphia because you got abs. Someone has abs doesn't mean you have body dysmorphia. It's who I am. Having abs is kind of congruent with who I've been most of my life, except for that 10-year time period where I gained that 50 pounds of weight and struggled with that. So after I lost that 50 pounds 9 years ago, I intentionally gained 30 pounds during a muscle building phase because everybody's all right, now it's muscle building time, let's build things up. You can't be afraid to lose your abs and everything. So I followed that, gained 30 pounds, went through a cutting phase again, shed that. It took a long time to lose that 30 pounds. And then the next time I'm like, all right, I got done that. Time to build again, gain 20 pounds. I probably did a 20-pound bulk and cut probably 5 times. So from the time I was like 36 years old to early 40s, like 40 and close to 41, I went through several bulking and cutting phases where I gained a fair amount of weight, 20 to 30 pounds each of those times, and dropped. So I have been there. So I gained 30 the first time. I was like, that's too much. It really wasn't worth it at that point. Dropped it to 20 pounds the next time. I did that a few times, like, yeah, it's just the 20 pounds isn't worth it because it just means I have to diet longer. So then I just got to the point where all right, let's keep it within 10 pounds and see how that goes. So now this time I gained 8 pounds. So it's all come from experience, trial and error, a heightened sense of awareness, and really paying attention to where I feel my best. And for me, health, feeling my best, that is always priority number one. Of course, I want to look my best. I train for vanity. I love it. But again, it's congruent with who I am, who I've always been. I've always been athletic and energetic, and I like how I look, but more than anything, I love how I feel. And it's a lot of trial and error. And again, it really takes that heightened sense of awareness to truly know where you look and feel your best. And I've said this countless times, I do this for me. Like I'm sharing my journey. I'm sharing my experiences. I'm not here to please anyone else. I'm not getting abs to satisfy anyone else's desires, goals, ambitions, to fulfill what their vision is of me, what I should look like. I never compare myself to anyone else. That's something that I talk about on this channel a lot. Never compare yourself to others. You're trying to just become the best version of yourself. And again, those are signs of it can be signs that go along with body dysmorphia if you're always comparing yourself to others there and worrying about you got to look a certain way because of living up to someone else's standards. I'm not trying to live up to anyone else's standards, but my own personal high standards. My own personal high standards are based on the core values within me, my inner nature, the way I have been my entire life. So I'm just living my life the way it has been, loving every freaking second of it to the fullest. If you don't think I am, that's on you. I'm cool. You can go about doing your thing. That's all good. But I think this is a very important topic that needs to be addressed. But most of us, we just have higher standards for ourselves. We don't have body dysmorphia. We just have ways that we want to improve upon ourselves and work upon, and that is okay. Yes, but for those the small percentage of the population who is facing body dysmorphia, please, please, please talk to someone, doctor, therapist, friends, really express how you're feeling and seek some help, because it's definitely a battle, and it's not the way you want to live your life. You want to live your life not worrying about what others think and just doing you, just being you, true to yourself, your unique greatness, really celebrating who you are, because you freaking rock. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate it. If you know a fellow bro who'd benefit from watching today's video, do him a favor and share it with them. More than anything, I'd love to hear from you down in the comment section below. Share your thoughts, share your feedback, share your insights. And before you go, don't forget to download your free guide, Jacked After 40. Have yourself an amazing day. Catch you in the next video.